Hello and welcome to Car Dealer Live. My name is James Batchelor and today we are talking about how dealers can sell cars and maximize profits on used cars using intelligent data and analytics. Now, joining me to speak more about this is Real World Analytics and Auto Trader, who are working together on this. Now, from Real World Analytics, we have automotive data specialist Neil Murphy and customer service consultant Martin Franks. And from Auto Trader, we have National Client Development Director Paul Keatley. Hello, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, James.
Lovely to have you on. Now, just a quick bit of background for our viewers. Auto Trader, as we know, is the UK's largest digital marketplace for new and used cars, while Real World Analytics, or RWA for short, provides business intelligence solutions for dealer groups to drive performance and profitability. Now, it turns data into insights and it pulls information into dashboards and automative reports to help dealers stay on top of their businesses by giving them all the information they need at their fingertips. Now, in the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to be chatting about how to find out if your website is working for you, how you can measure your campaign spend and effectiveness, are customers actually engaging with your online stock, and how you can maximize your online margins through price optimization. Now, there's an awful lot to talk about there, so the next 30 minutes should be pretty good. Neil, if I can turn to you first, if I may. Now, what should dealers really be measuring to maximize their opportunities online? And also, what can be done to enhance what dealers are currently doing?
Hi, James. Okay, so what we've been speaking to dealers about recently is there's four different measurements that we've been chatting about. So first of all, it's pricing. So that's what the collaboration with Auto Trader that we're currently doing has highlighted the fact that pricing needs to be done on a daily basis. Even with the market being quite strong this year, we're still seeing a massive lost opportunity in profit. Mm-hmm. Paul will talk about that a bit deeper, I suppose, later on. The second part is the digital campaign spend, which you mentioned in the intro. Like campaign spends, digital campaign spends come in as a direct cost into the sales department, so it's affecting the bottom line. So analysing what's working and what's not working in terms of campaign spend will show how effective that spend has been. Third part is vehicle engagement. So when you get your users online to view your stock, what are you actually looking at? And so you're effectively looking at which stock is hot, what's not. And then the last bit is just optimizing your stock that you're carrying. So using your data to look to see which is earning the most profit. I suppose the second part of the question then, with regards to what dealers are doing now, they can get this information, but there's a massive effort in collating all the information because you have multiple systems. You're looking at your DMS data, you're looking at showroom systems, you're looking at cool apps like Auto Trader's Accelerate program, and then you've got Google Analytics and everything else, which stores a whole bunch of information. So collating that information is a bit of a job for any dealer group. So our job in Real World is to collate all that information and display it in a readable format, which I can demonstrate for you now if we can. So we mentioned about pricing. So this is just a really brief example where we've taken DMS stock information mixed with Auto Trader data, and it's literally just a stock profile to show a dealer's stock and how it compares to the market. So pretty much what we're looking at is how many retail units do we have in stock versus what's advertised in Auto Trader. And from our own stock then, what's our general market condition, what's our average performance rating, and what's our average days to sell versus what the average days to sales in our locality is. In terms of your pricing policy, we've got all the the Auto Trader ratings built into the background. So every single vehicle that a dealer has in stock will match that up with an Auto Trader rating. But effectively, we can see where the pricing is. So everybody's looking at in around 100% of market value, a little bit higher to how the market's performing at the moment. But as an example, you're looking at the likes of some of the highly rated stock in green. And in this example, we're looking at, you know, something that's priced in around like 95, 97%, that's reasonably due in stock. That's something that should jump out at a dealer and say, this vehicle is underpriced. So something that can be reviewed. On our system, you better drill in and look at to see what that actual vehicle is. But you're also looking at, on the right-hand side, you're looking at the overall profile. So of all the ratings, Auto Trader ratings, mixed with our own stock, then where is our under and over valuation? So there are 60 to 80 rated stock. There's 250 vehicles in that category with an average of 24 days of stock. But we're undervaluing the vehicles at about 2,500 as opposed to as compared to the market. So that's just one example of how we can pull all that data together. So like I said, you're mixing DMS data with Auto Trader data to give insights to dealers. The second part to mention about the web traffic and are your websites working? So this is just a straight pull from the likes of Google Analytics, where you can see how much traffic is being brought into each of our websites. But the follow-up for that then is the campaign spend. So I suppose this can go into a black hole sometimes, especially if you're not in marketing and don't understand all this information. So our job is, I suppose, is to lift it up a level. So regardless of what level you're in the business, when we deliver these insights, they're fairly legible and we can see what the actual cost is. This is showing us what AdWords is driving the traffic to our website. And then in terms of campaign spend, which campaigns are working and which ones aren't. But then the follow up for that then again is once we get people to our website, what are people doing? So in terms of measuring engagement, the term that's used in the industry is VDPs, for vehicle display pages. That's when a user actually clicks on a vehicle that's advertised online. And SRP is a search results page. So someone's obviously in the search looking for a particular vehicle. But what we've been doing recently is recording the engagement of what the user is actually doing when they're looking at a vehicle online. So if you look at a picture online, so that's one engagement. If you spend more than 15 seconds on the page, that's a second engagement. If you submit an inquiry, that's a third engagement. So about 15 of them that we're currently collecting for a couple of our customers. But ultimately what it's bringing it back is which of our stock. So we lifted up a level to look at it by year or model. So which models are performing well online, which ones aren't. And then likewise, we bring the campaigns in as well. So which campaigns is driving VDP views and which ones aren't. So again, you're getting that elevated view to find out what's working for us and what's not. And the last piece then is this is just a quick snippet of several stock tools that we can deliver to our customers. But this one's just looking at our own data, historical data, to see what stock has worked for us over the last 12 months. So a really brief example is, if we take this X-Trail as an example, it's our top seller. You can see what our average profit per unit is, but it's taken us a hell of a long time to sell. And I suppose if you flip it from what's it cost us per day to look and to say, well, how much did that model earn us per day? It's just a different angle of looking at it. So this particular vehicle is earning us £35 per day on average, but we're fixing that stock issue because we've only got 6 weeks cover of this particular model. But the other example is the second line here, the Honda Accord. Is the second highest seller for year to date. We can see it's earning similar money per unit that we sell, but the days to sell is much lower. We earn on average about £150 per day just by having this particular model in stock. This is showing us that the stock that we have is relatively new. And out to the right hand side then we have the VDP views, which is taking the web analytics. So we can see that we're short on stock, just only 4 weeks. Plus our prospects are looking at these vehicles online as well. So that's an indicator to a buyer to say, fill your forecourt with Honda Accords. This is demo data. Don't go filling your forecourts with Honda Accords. Just to get that out there. But yeah, that's what we're providing there. Pretty intense there, but
no, but there's some really fascinating data in that, and that's the point, isn't it? Because it's not just about putting cars on your forecourt and making them look pretty. I mean, car dealers are very good at selling cars, but they're not data experts. So if they're going to have analytics like that, it's got to be simple to understand and to sort of, pull apart. And that really is. I mean, you must have some feedback from dealers who say, look, the information you're providing us is really straightforward and easy to digest.
Yeah, absolutely. There's what we're implementing here at the moment. We're working with Paul closely to understand all the Auto Trader data. Paul's giving us all the insights that he's providing to dealers at the moment, and then we're mixing all that, like I mentioned, with all the other systems like the DMS data. But once we feed that up in the likes of that format, people are getting quite excited when they see it.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Right, Martin, let me move over to you. Now, you've got lots of experience, obviously, in this area. Now, from your experience, I mean, working directly with dealer groups, I mean, is there a demand? Is there a thirst for this information? And how important is this information to dealers?
James, absolutely. There's a growing demand for the data. It's never been readily available before. That's the important part to understand. Now, companies like RWA, along with Auto Trader, we're using the experience with DMS knowledge, that data knowledge, and in the industry knowledge, we're allowing this information all be pulled together, and with that being put into one suite of reporting, daily pricing, that allows the decision makers within that business to understand where they are. We've seen data. There's huge profit opportunities. I'm not going to take away Paul's thunder because it's interesting data. It really is. But daily pricing, better stock turn, better targeting for your marketing, and optimizing those profits just helps total dealer profitability. It's really interesting data, and it's a change in the marketplace.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, Paul, let's nicely introduce there. Let's look at some of this data then. I mean, how is it being used by dealers and why?
Oh, you know what? Really good question, guys. Really good. So just to give you my background, 13 years at Auto Trader, five and a half years working with the largest retailer groups across the UK to complement the current strategies using Auto Trader's data. Now, all the time I've been doing this, there is awesome retailers out there who turn a lot of stock and a lot of stock quick. But at the same token, there's still inefficiencies. Retailer groups, even down to even smaller groups, they're too busy to manage the forecourt, spinning so many different plates to manage that stock out there. And when we're seeing the automotive marketplace moving so quickly nowadays, even quicker than ever before, you just can't keep on top of all that stock. So the reason that I've kind of been brought in from a data perspective is to complement and amplify these retailers' current in-house strategies. And I sit down and tell all these retailers, I've never sold a car. I've never done what these guys do, but I'm an absolute geek at the data and taking this data and plugging it into a retailer's world to make them more efficient, let them turn stock quicker, drive greater profit opportunities, and at the end of the day, reduce risk, driving more efficient forecourts. So ahead of today's call, what I thought would be cool, I've spent an absolute mammoth amount of time just bringing some data with me, just trying to give you guys a bit of a flavor of, even though there's so many awesome retailers out there, fantastic operators, there's still opportunity where retailers could be turning stock a little bit quicker. So I won't bore you with too much data, but as you can see, I have spent some time analyzing over the last 6 months worth of sold cars from the franchise marketplace from 4,119 retailers, all the vehicles that have been removed from their forecourts over the past 6 months. I've then also taken a snapshot over the weekend, the 6th of June, of all the 154,000 plus vehicles live on Auto Trader, again from the franchise marketplace. So what I want to talk to you guys about first, I've manually gone through them 477,000 unique VRMs myself. And I've kind of plotted it by desirability, Auto Trader's version of it, that is desirability, retail rating. And kind of this is what's been so important and integral to the conversations I've been having with these large retailer groups over the past couple of years, building retail rating into the foundations of their strategies going forward and how they source, how they price their stock to marketplace. So what I've got in front of me now, and I'll just minimize the screen so you can get a full feel for the data, is 6 graphs. So I've analysed those 400,000+ vehicles and bucketed them up into 5 buckets based on Auto Trader's retail rating, which goes from a scale of 1 to 100. And that's simply how hot a car is on supply and demand, hint of speed of sale, within a 50-mile radius of a retailer's forecourt postcode. So as you can see here, if we start working from the left-hand side, 19.47% of the franchise stock removed over the past 6 months had a retail rating of less than 20. Those vehicles took an average 66 days to sell. They typically went to marketplace on Auto Trader at 99.92% and left at 97.60%. But what's really key here, look at the higher end, flip it over now. Let's look at all them screaming hot cars that had a really high retail rating. So these are very, very desirable items. They sold twice as quick on average. In fact, more than twice as quick, take on an average 30 days. And more so, at a higher price point, you left Auto Trader being more profitable. And when you look at comparing the actual price reduction total from first day of Auto Trader asking price versus the last asking price, look at the difference from the retail rating buckets. The lesser desirable vehicles seen a price reduction of £1,100 plus, but the hotter the car, not only did they sell quicker at a higher price point, much lesser price change. And I've built this whole data set here. We can jump into any region, any brand, and that story will play through. Retail rating is so powerful. And this is what the guys from RWA are trying to do now, is suck out all Auto Trader's data and have it at these retailers' fingertips so they can address potential inefficiencies from a desirability perspective or retail rating perspective. Because on the next tab, what I've looked at, and this took me an absolute mammoth amount of time, I've taken the snapshot of the 6th of June of 154,000 vehicles live on Auto Trader. And I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it gives you a bit of a feel for how retailers in the franchise marketplace are pricing their stock to Auto Trader. And you know what? Massive thumbs up. The boatload of the stock's priced really well. Because what the lighter green bar is here, that's Auto Trader's 95 to 105% price point. That's where we see the price flags, great, good, and fair. And that's where we actually see the boatload, the majority of the stock on Auto Trader transacts. The thicker green bar here, that's the franchise marketplace. We actually see the sweet spot for the franchise retailers out there, and where they typically transact on Auto Trader sits between 98 and 102%. So I've kind of built this strategy up. I usually build up for a retailer group, but I've built it from the whole franchise marketplace. But what it calls out, and this is where the RWA guys come into play, look at all this opportunity of vehicles that are less than 30 days. If we look at the bottom axis, days in stock, less than 30 days old, fresh items, new in the marketplace, that are priced not only below the Auto Trader marketplace, but way below where these retailers typically transact. Leave an opportunity margin on the table. And I've said, some of these retailers I work with, they're absolutely fantastic, but they're so busy out there spinning so many different plates. They can't manage the forecourts effectively when the marketplace is moving that quick. So having kind of reporting tools, software from a holistic view to call out any of these opportunities, it's so important. Because we just look, if we spoke about before them hot items of stock that sell pretty quick, and then the franchise marketplace typically sell for fun. I just looked here at all the hot stock out there on the 6th of June. What was priced below the marketplace? That is screaming hot stock. That is margin left on the table. Let's tap into that. And if you want to put some numbers against it, and this is the last part of the data set here, but it was a great question, is let's look at them. Out of them 154,000 vehicles live on Auto Trader on the 6th of June, how many were priced under the marketplace? 10,009. What about those vehicles that had a retail rating, a very high desirability score, and that were hot stock? There was 2,695 units. Those vehicles were priced at 92.88% on average. where retailers within this marketplace typically transact at 98.42%, based on the average retail value of them 2,600 units at £12,929. It's 5.5% less than where they typically transact. There's nearly £2 million sat out there of lost profit, with hot stock being priced too aggressive. So I think this is where the guys out there in the marketplace now, with them spinning so many different plates, can the guys from RWA suck out our data and serve it up from an operational perspective, or even site level, so these retailers can address the marketplace a little bit quicker?
I mean, that overall figure is just absolutely staggering, isn't it? And really what you're saying, just a little bit of time and some effort spent in analyzing this data. I mean, you can really turn that round, can't you?
Totally.
Yeah. Now, just diving into that data just a little bit more. I mean, how does a dealer actually set or calculate the optimum price for each car? I mean, can they actually dive down into spec level, for example?
Yeah, you know what? It's a great question again. So, give you an idea. Our valuations, our data, we go right down to make, model, derivative plate, year, and even spec. You know, due to Auto Trade's marketplace, we are absolutely huge, and the data, the vehicles just on autotrader.co.uk, that's the tip of the iceberg. We actually track 1.9 million vehicles out there in the market across the whole market. We track data from fleet, lease, OEMs, auctions, even rental companies, not to mention circa 19,000 cars added and removed each day from Auto Trader. Our data set is absolutely phenomenal. So this is why we have the confidence and the power to go out there and recommend confidently to retailers, sharing their insights, sharing their data, and where potential is the optimum for their vehicles to be priced to marketplace, not from day 30, day 60, but from day one, pricing those vehicles right to marketplace from day one. And just with that question too, I'm getting a bit carried away here. But even thinking over the past 30 days, I ran a report a couple of days ago, and how well our data is kind of sucked in and used by retailers to price up their stock to the marketplace. In the last 30 days, from a software-only perspective in Auto Trade's pricing suite, there was over 1 million retail checks or price checks complete in the last 30 days. That worked out at 36,000 price checks per day. Or if you want to go really granular, that was 60 price checks every single minute. Our data is really well absorbed into the marketplace, and retailers are using it, not solely, but to complement the other tools they use to complement the goods to price their stock to market. And the data goes right down back to your question: make, model, derivative, plate, mileage, and spec. It's pretty granular data.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've made it very easy, Paul, for, well, not you specifically, but Auto Trader, obviously, made it very easy for customers to compare prices. But you know, some might think that this has created a bit of a race to the bottom that squeezes dealers' margins. I mean, is that how you see it?
You know what? I love this question. I get asked all the time. It's not a race to the bottom. Personally, I don't feel it's a race to the bottom. And to give you a bit of an idea about that, bit of a kind of a feeler for it, you know, Auto Trader's marketplace, we are huge. We've got circa 13,000 retailers advertising, circa 500,000 cars, typically a normal marketplace, and 10.4 million visits per month to Auto Trader. Car buying journey, and you guys will know this much better than me, it's not simple. It's not easy for a car buyer to wake up and understand, I know what car I want to buy from a make, model perspective and spec, and then what's a fair price, what's good value for the vehicle I should pay, what should I pay for that car, and then can I trust who I'm buying that car from? So our confidence builds, then price flags we have out there in the marketplace, the 5 price flags: low, great, good, fair, and high. They're there to drive transparency, not only from a consumer's perspective, but also a retailer's perspective too. So a retailer can make that decision how they price that stock to marketplace, but a consumer can look and feel, okay, I'm getting a good deal here. I can trust that price because that's kind of where that vehicle's sat to be good value for money, seen as good value for money. So my answer to you would be, it's not a race to the bottom. It's a race to the middle. And that's why we know, in fact, is from the data I've collated, Retailers who price their cars from day one, who price their vehicles to sell, they sell those cars quicker, retain more margin. And it's the retailers out there who kind of go to marketplace a little bit too aggressive, and nothing against these retailers because they're still very, very successful. But sometimes they're not using data to complement the decision making. And they're the retailers who potentially could come short and miss opportunity out there. When I showed you the scatter graph earlier on, they're kind of the key opportunities, the profit opportunities that are just left on the table. So back to your question, it's a race to the middle.
Race to the middle, brilliant. Okay, now question to you, Paul and Neil. Let me start with you first, Paul. I mean, can the services that we're talking about here? I mean, can we get that from RWA or a similar company with the data Auto Trader collects? I mean, in other words, I mean, do I, if I were a dealer, do I need to upgrade from Auto Trader?
That makes sense. Good question too. So give you an idea. So our data set, our valuations, it comes under a kind of under Auto Trader, the commercial data team. That's my department. There's a number of us within that department, and it's totally separate from the Auto Trader advertising product range. So we offer an API technical interface to companies like RWA out there to interact and suck out our awesome data and plug it into their own software, their platforms. As long as the retailers subscribe to the relevant package on Auto Trader, they can access all that data.
Mm-hmm. And same question to you, Neil.
Yeah, so RWA offers a subscription service, so we cover all departments, so both sales and after sales, with our subscription service, which, as Paul mentioned there, people on the accelerator program, we can integrate and suck that data in as part of the overall data set that we take. So I mentioned earlier on, we take from DMS, the likes of your third-party showroom maps, budgets, but then Auto Trader, and you can see how good that data set is. So when it comes in and sits on top of DMS data, it's absolutely, it's magic. Yeah. But yeah, we take that data on a daily basis from Auto Trader, and obviously mix it with everything else in as well.
Mm. Now, Paul, let's just go back to that granular level of detail we were talking about. Yep. I mean, how can you sort of compare the desirability of the car when, let's face it, there are so many different specs within a model type these days?
You know what? Really good question too. Really good. So what I'd say, top of my head now, it comes down to 4 key ingredients from an Auto Trader perspective: high volumes of vehicle records. Back to your point, really granular taxonomy, massive audience scale, and then lots and lots of smart people in house and technology to kind of make all sense of that and power out to the marketplace. And don't forget as well, the recent acquisition of key resources, our data's got far more granular than ever before. So we can kind of provide an accurate valuations out there to the marketplace, as we spoke about earlier on, from a vehicle make, model, derivative, plate and mileage. On top of that, you've got the kind of the data science platform, the technology stack behind all this, and we power incredible data volumes. And we spoke about it a little bit earlier on, the unique visits, but we're seeing 60 million visits in total per month. We're tracking all this data. And on top of that, so there's your demand out there in the marketplace. And we're also tracking circa 1.92 million vehicle records per day. We have all this data out there. We're now making sense of this data and powering it out there, again, for platforms like RWA, real world analytics, to tap into and suck out.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, my last question to the three of you, really, and it's to Paul and to Neil. Let me start with you first, Paul. I mean, how do Auto Trader and RWA sort of complement each other? I mean, how can dealers actually get this into their daily operations, really?
You know what? Great question. I think it goes back to what I spoke about earlier on. I've never sold a car. I've never been from a retailer's perspective, their side of the table. There's some awesome retailers out there. I mentioned before, turn a lot of stock and a lot of stock quick, but there's still a small few inefficiencies out there with retailers can be more efficient, price more stock to the marketplace, turn cars a little bit quicker, and maximize opportunity. And I think this is where the guys from RWA and the platform they're building, I've had a quick run through so far, and it looks awesome. And it's going to give the retailers out there from a site level or from an operational perspective, full visibility of all them opportunities, all them risks out there. So we can start serving up them that data points, them actionable data points to the marketplace. Sure, it's going to become more efficient. and we won't see as many retailers who are pricing high desirable cars, highly retail rated items below the marketplace from day one, maximizing that opportunity and therefore reduce that risk, and then hopefully have a more efficient forecourt. So I think the idea would be, to summarize it, it's future-proofing retailer forecourts, using that data to complement their current in-house strategies and future-proof themselves.
Yeah, yeah, and let's face it, this is just going to grow and grow and grow, isn't it? And data-led insight is just going to become part and parcel of a dealer's working day life, really. Yeah. And Neil, anything to add on that?
Yeah, so it's like, from our perspective, like, we're trying to create full transparency across the group. So one version of the truth is our slogan that we go with. So it's, I suppose, historically a common thing that you hear from dealers is people coming to the table with different sets of numbers, whereas we create one data platform, so everything is working, everybody's working off the same data set. But in terms of the day-to-day operations, as you mentioned, because we're taking all this information on a daily basis, we're literally delivering this information out to sales managers, particularly around the pricing. So if there's anything that's out of kilter or off policy, we're showing out those exceptions to the sales managers daily. So those prices should be fixed on a daily basis, and dealers are then optimizing their potential margin in those with those vehicles they have.
That's huge. And just to back up Neil on that too, we're seeing 13,496 price changes per day on Auto Trader, 19,000 cars added and removed per day. The marketplace is moving too quick. If these guys can now provide a reporting suite to highlight these opportunities and kind of actions for the retailers, it's going to be huge.
I think the point does need to be made, though, that you're just talking about how quickly the marketplace is changing. It's not unreasonable for dealers to be lagging in this area, because like you say, they've got so many plates they're spinning that it's understandable that things like this are going to fall by the wayside, really, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid, gentlemen. But Neil, Martin, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today's Car Dealer Live. See you again very soon. Bye-bye.